proceedings. And we'll come to paper 5. And this is an update on the situation. Remember some time ago that we had a meeting concerning the property technology, and at the end of that, we recommended that the county also go and investigate the possibilities to employ a CPO to take control of the property there, and we are now about to receive that update from the launcher.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. First, I'd like to apologise to the committee for the time it's taken to bring this report back to the committee on the compulsory budget powers. There's a number of factors to that, mainly down to other priorities that I've had to deal with. CPO powers are complex, and they are very specialised in the area of the law. So I'm not proposing to go into every aspect of the law, but rather provide an overview of the initial application, with particular focus on the Gamble property. So I'm not sure if all members of the committee are aware, but one of the owners at 10 Gamble, Mr. Smith, recently passed away. I'll explain why I'm telling you this, but ultimately my experience as a lawyer when dealing with estates and winding them up, they can take somewhere up to 18 months to complete. As such, and I go into this, if the council is minded to make an offer, it will be some time away before you will be able to do that. However, I'll go further into overview. So the report provides an overview of the initial steps the council is required to achieve before CPO process. All CPOs have to be approved by the Scottish Ministers, with the need for the strongest possible case of evidence demonstrating public interest associated with the proposal of the CPO. Before any CPO is granted, the council has to make an offer to purchase the land from the current owner, which is my link back to the winding up of the estate and the length of time it can potentially take before that can even happen. It should be further noted, the public interest test has to be set out with clear reasoning for interfering with the legal rights of ownership to those protected by the CPO, which includes the purpose the land is being acquired being linked to the justification of deprivation of property rights. Is there a less intrusive measure which could be achieved, and that the land is directly needed for the purposes of the CPO? And I would point members in paragraph 3.52. And I'll go into a bit there. In terms of the evidence that's required, I've listed at 3.5 of the report the public benefit requirements for the use of CPO powers, none of which I can see fit in this particular situation for a potential CPO for 10 Gamble. Paragraph 3.2 of the report confirms the requirements for the council not to use CPO powers speculatively. There is a requirement for the council to demonstrate that there is a reasonable prospect of being able to meet any shortfalls in funding for the completion of the project, which all requires to be confirmed by the Scottish Ministers. On the basis that we don't have a project, nor do we have any budget allocated for such a project, I do not believe that the council would be successful in obtaining consent from the Scottish Minister at this time for a CPO. However, that is not to say that the council could look at a specific project and it has to meet the general requirements, so things like examples of these like social housing, a care home, road widening requirements, drainage, that kind of thing. And again, it's that public interest test and making sure that they've got the funding that we'll be able to confirm. Paragraph 310 provides a notice of using CPO powers where, in certain circumstances, the land is needed for a specific project, but the council is relying on a third party to deliver the same. So you recall there was some chat about back-to-back agreements when we were originally discussing this. So an example of a project being delivered by the third party is perhaps like a regeneration project, where you have a piece of land and, just say, we've got an individual owner as part of that major kind of regeneration project, it's just refusing to sell. We don't see public interest, we can see the full benefits, etc. So the council at these points, and again, as I said, the law is very complex in it. The council could use its EPO powers to facilitate that acquisition. But, and that's the big one, the council is on the hook for delivery of that project. So if we were looking to do something like that, for say a regeneration project, we would have to have agreements with the developer to confirm, because we're on the hook with the Scottish ministers to be able to deliver that infrastructure or regeneration project. As the council that is responsible for obtaining the CPO and for ensuring the project is delivered. So it doesn't matter whether there's a third party involved, we're on the hook for it. As a minimum, the council needs to satisfy itself that there's no other solutions that exist. The third party delivering the project is unable to acquire the land through other means, the idea of it to purchase. The third party can demonstrate that it is actively engaged with the affected community in respect to the project. And again, can demonstrate the public interest in the project. So you can understand you're talking about something like a regeneration idea. And there's no procurement or state aid issues arising, and if they did, then these comply with the same. So when I looked at that, again, I was of the view that there was no basis, we don't have a third party, we don't have a project, and again, there is no budget that has been set aside to even ensure the delivery of that, specifically decided to do it by earlier back to back. So I think it's again unlikely that the council will successfully obtain permission from the Scottish ministers in relation to any CPO. I'm happy to take any questions.
Where do we go for you?
Well, I'm not convinced. As I said, if it's something in the future that we can think of, like if you were thinking that there's a public interest, I think if there was like a care home or something else, something specific, and we've got all our ducks in a row to allow that to happen. Maybe, but I'm not sure at this time that we are in that position as a council.
I mean, at this time, everything's speculative. Because, sorry, it's okay. At this time, everything's speculative because we have no idea what the remaining applicant plans to do. And B, if there's an estate to unravel, then we don't know how long that's likely to take. So to be able to make any kind of decision today would be speculative, and I think it would be impossible to follow through in a decision today because any number of elements could happen in the forthcoming months. So as I'm concerned, in fact, we accept your information today while we're in that position.
Like, the one thing I was going to say is that there's maybe going to pass to Grant, because certainly know that Grant has been in contact with Mrs. Smith, have you not? Has she not been in touch?
I have had an informal contact, but I don't think it'd be fair for me to share, what was said in that conversation. But I think probably to pick up what you were saying, me, that there's quite a long way to go in terms of, from her husband passing recently to what she can see as an option in place, straight state.
But it strikes me that we would actually have a project in mind before we took the first step on the road down to CPO. We would have to demonstrate the need for over facility, whether we don't have that in front of us at the moment. Other capital programs are not committed at this stage, I think. And also, I take it that any attempt to execute a CPO would be frustrated by the failure of the estate deal.
Yeah, so if it is fundamental principle you have to try. The law doesn't allow you to just take people's rights away from them. And so that's why you have all these steps you have to go through if you are going to do it. I have seen successful CPOs. The ones that I've ever dealt with have been things like the Edinburgh Schools project, where the CPO land for one of the schools that we're going to build. And that's really, don't get me wrong, The Scottish Government actively encourages local authorities to use their CPO powers. Absolutely. And I've been to a number of seminars in relation to this. I know that I think it was Falkirk Council were successful in a CPO where they acquired a house, I think a house that had been like lying derelict, but it was in the middle of a council estate that was going to be repurposed for the social housing need. So, you know, there was a clear end project that was going to happen with it. It was interesting hearing that one, but at this moment, at this time, there is a project, there isn't a project, and I think, as I said, the winding up of these estates can be quite complex. I'm sure we all had our personal experience of, you know, having to deal with these, and they're not the easiest. So any offer, we would have to work out whether the actual estate had been wound up to allow, you know, the individual to be able to then make an offer to the individual.
Yeah.
Can I,
Did you want to say something about that?
yes, please.
Right.
Can I ask, has there any builders in the area actually come forward about this property?
Okay, we are actually going to be asked to this update from.
Chair, I thought we were quite, are we still at question stage? Really?
Yeah, well, we are. Yeah.
So I don't have any questions. I want to make a statement. But Kenny, would you want to ask a question?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very simple. The neighbouring properties and the owners of the neighbouring properties, have they been kept up to date on exactly what the situation is? Because their expectation will have been that something will be getting done with this. They've been living with this for
5 years.
a long time. 10 years
About 5 years.
under this. Yeah, under this. So have they been kept up to date on exactly what's happening? As much as we can.
No, I would update, it's not for me to update the residents in relation to our council CPO powers. That's specifically to the council. My understanding is that one of the residents in the area has been in communication with the council, and we've certainly tried to keep them up to date in relation to the planning aspect of that. I think that, well, maybe actually I'm the one that's probably had the communications with the resident, so I know that there has been communication.
I think the situation is also that, sorry, I can remember, I think the situation is also that, this is a public meeting, so the what we just said is now out there. And any one of us as a board councillor, quite entitled to go down and have a conversation with the resident about what's been declared at a public meeting, if that's desirable.
Yes.
Hi, yeah, good question, Ed. So I'm just thinking of, you know, can I write an understatement and there's absolutely, even if we were to make an offer, that would happen for potentially months or whatever. So is this really mean that this is kind of on the back burner until that's all wound up before we can even really consider anything else?
This is not my decision.
Right.
This is the committee's decision. I think I've kind of gone through the kind of legislation in the not in detail because there's a lot more, there's rules about it. But I think in terms of this moment in time, I'm not convinced that the council would be successful in a CPO because you've got to get consent of the Scottish ministers. What the council then, if it's a committee, if they then decide in 18 months, and bearing in mind, I think for the CPO, you will need council permission under this understanding order. So, you know, they would get, maybe you can make a decision at late level, is ratified at council level, but yeah, I think there's too many ifs and ands. I don't know if the committee's even minded to even do that. I just don't know if we're just in that. Minded to even look in 18 months' time, potentially, bearing in mind what I explained about the project, the budgets.
I think obviously in terms of the burners, the front burner is the segment of the estate, and that's the enormous of anything up here. So we're in complete stasis really until that's can't do anything. Nobody can do it. Probably not even the owner.
That's better than what's getting at and kind of ended the debate for the next, until that point got the section.
No, that's nothing can happen.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so we have the paperwork.
I will propose it formally, if I wish to formally second.
Go forward.
Councillor Law, thank you very much. Right, a debate, anyone? Councillor Wilson.
There's two quick aspects to that. There's the situation around 10 Gallon View and its site specifics and then use of the Purchase Office. I think as we've highlighted, as a consequence of the unfortunate passing of Mr. Smith as a state now, we've got to be resolved, and I think trying to pursue a CPO at this stage would be probably be seen very much as inappropriate, particularly since we don't actually have a specific project in mind. The only thing I can think of, a single house within a private cul-de-sac estate would be either social housing or a house for looked after children in terms of the council's interests. And I've taken a broader step back. There are many more sites within Clive Manager that I would prioritise for a CPO over this particular one. I think at this stage, in terms of 10 Gallon View, now we've got an estate in question to be resolved. The due process of a CPO is that a compulsory purchase order should be the last resort for the council. We should be making offers if we wanted to engage in intervening in the market. We would have been making offers for the purchase of that site. And now, 10 Gallon View specifically, we know that some of the neighbours who are most affected by this development have also got a kind of commercial interest in that site. So I think at this stage the council should be stepping back. On the CPO point, I think I was one of the last councillors to be involved in the last CPO that this council got involved in, which was for the compulsory purchase of the Isle of Glen Hotel. And oh boy, that took us 2.5 years on the very day the council was serving the notice that the couple owner transferred ownership to another individual, and then who appealed, the whole thing kind of collapsed. I am, however, a believer in CPOs. I do think the council could be more active with compulsory purchase, in terms of assemblages of land for strategic purposes and very clear objectives. And I think that's the key driver for any CPO that our authority should be involved in. And ultimately, it should be a measure of last resort, because we ought to have been able to negotiate any future land purchase before we get to CPO process. So I could probably say much more on that aspect, but in terms of this one, I think it would be absolutely prudent. In fact, it probably incompetent of us actually to try and pursue a CPO at this stage, given the state resolution and the fact we haven't got an actual end use in mind, and being brutal about this in terms of the wider public interest of the citizens that we represent. That's probably, it is a private house building site. It's half complete. The only one, maybe 2, 3 residents have an interest in, unlike the Glendale, which was in the main street of Ireland, a big public interest. I can honestly hand in that and say that there is that drive there, and I believe there are others in mansion. I know I'm repeating myself, so I'll just stop here.
Yeah, right.
I've personally had a lot of conversations with the neighbours in the 10 Gallon View. I totally understand their frustration. It's went on for, it seems like a lifetime. There have been various issues raised throughout the development there, or non-development. However, right now, I think it would be highly disrespectful to us, and it would be almost cruel to force anything on Mrs. Smith right now. nothing can happen. The legal process is obviously the state must be wound, the estate must be wound up. That is the first hurdle that must be overcome. We can interfere in that process, nobody can interfere in that process. So I think right now this just has to lie as it is. A CPO being the last measure that we could take is way too long. So I think it's essential that we just accept the newspaper, the newspaper, and let it lie until Mrs. Smith unravels our financial future, and then we can maybe think again at that point. Thanks.
Councillor
Yeah, I mean, totally agree with what you said here. At this time, it's not the right time to be considering looking at the state of some of these legacies. However, Donald touched on there about the intricacies of the CPO and what we've been through in the past. And Donald, yes, I was also involved in it because I was an assistant support at the time. And I remember that particular property had to get 4 different owners in the space of 2 or 3 months because they kept on just changing names. It was a real backlash. But what I have to be careful of is that if notification is out in the press about the council proposing to go down the road of a CPO for the property, we must not be seen to be using a slice of what you're cracking up. We know the intricacies of it. Well, in fact, we know some intricacies of it. We as a lot of it. I'm sure if we actually drilled down into the procedure, there be so many different tangents to this that it can be a nightmare. But in the meantime, we have neighbours, as Jane said, she's had conversation. It's what they are having to work with until such time as you get this situation resolved. And it has been an ongoing nightmare. I mean, I had a file upstairs like that, it was delivered by the representative of the neighbour in that area. And they must be pulling their ear trying to resolve them. But I'm heartened by the fact that I hear today that there has been ongoing dialogue with between the neighbours and the council. So that the neighbours aren't left feeling that nothing can be done, that this way of time on there. But with that in mind, I mean, it is a mess. Not a mess of our making. It's just circumstances that have alluded to create this mess. We need to do something. We can't sit back and leave it. What do we do? I don't know. I wish I could have a crystal ball.
The CPO is a paperweight instrument and it's designed to allow progress in society where there's a strategic need for a development of some kind, whether it's a railway or a road or whatever, or national home or school. It's not a device of settling every dispute really, and that's not our job. The problem that we have, if quite as planners and around, is that the law is flawed in this regard. As been said, and it is for more than one occasion, it's perfectly legal to apply for planning permission to build a castle and half build it in one way and do nothing. The law allows that, which is the insanity of the situation. And that is the situation that applies in. And we have no legal remedy for that. So unless we can find a strategic need for that piece of land, we're going to see the order. That would be my view on it. I think we have to bring it to a close now because we're actually not making a decision today, Parliament to accept and and that's it, that it is noted. Thank you. That's our last item. Thank you all very much for your attendance, and contributions, much appreciated.